This video is about using AI to write code. I'm particularly interested in tools that allow you to write hard, technical programs using AI as an assistant. Some people have been skeptical that AI really helps in these cases where libraries might be customized or you might need to bring in technical concepts. To test this idea out, what we're going to do today is we're going to implement an arbitrary Twitter thread that shows a cool mathematical structure. We're going to do it entirely using AI. So first, let me talk about my editor. I'm doing this in an editor known as Zed. Zed is a beta editor. It's entirely open source, and they've made the decision to build in a lot of AI features. This is done in collaboration with Anthropic, and I know a bunch of people at Anthropic have been using this in practice. I have a version of this running on Linux, and I have access to their beta fast completion API. Throughout this project, I'm going to mainly be using Sonnet 3.5 in order to generate code. I know a lot of other people have been using Cursor for these projects, and I probably could be doing everything today in Cursor. The Cursor team is extremely impressive, and they've been the leaders in a lot of this AI coding practice. I like Zed, though. It's pretty simple. It's pretty fast. So recently, I've been following this Twitter account that shows one interesting mathematical fact each day with a neat visualization. I've been trying to test myself to see whether I could code these up in practice and maybe learn a little math along the way. This is an example where they show the registration of points of a rabbit to another rabbit. This is done using an interesting mathematical formula, and I think it gives a pretty cool visualization. The challenge here is not just to have an AI reproduce this visualization, but do it in a way that we feel like we're in control, where we understand each part of the code and we structure it in a way that we like. What that means tangibly is I'm going to be using a library that's not really even available online. It's just a weird side project of my own. I would like the AI to use this library in the same way that I do in order to accomplish this goal. So specifically, I'm really going to only use one AI feature. The way the Zed Editor works is that you have two panes. On the left, you have your standard coding pane, and on the right, you have an assistant pane. The neat thing about the assistant pane is that you can write complex and intricate instructions about how you want your assistant to help you with coding. You can also have several different of these instructions, which can be used for different parts of your code. So if you look at the right side of this picture, you'll see I have 3 different tabs. This is going to represent the instructions that I used when coding in NumPy, the instructions that describe the mathematical structure of the problem we'll be working on today, and one that describes the graphics library I'm going to be used for drawing things in this program. We can do several different things in the assistant pane. We can bring in files or websites or documentation that we want the system to read before generating code. We can also bring in our own prompts from a prompt library, maybe general instructions about how we want documentation or tests to be structured. Finally, you can write arbitrary instructions. So here I'm giving a somewhat long and complex description of how I want the AI to use my own personal library. Before we begin on the problem, let's look a little bit at some of the prompts I'm using to tell the AI to write NumPy. I have very strong feelings about how I like my NumPy code to be structured. I think it's very important that in addition to writing the code in a concise way, the code use strong typing, which takes into account the shapes of the different objects. To do this in my own code, I use a library known as JAX typing. In order to get the AI to utilize this library as well, I'm going to include the URL of the documentation for this library, as well as very concrete specifications about how it should write these functions. I'm telling it explicitly that it should write general functions that allow us to have an extra batch dimension, to keep its code to single functions at a time, and to take into account how to use and structure those functions in practice. You can also see the fetch special command, which points the AI to the documentation for the library I would like it to use. This documentation is included inline in the prompt and cached as part of generation for code of this form. Now let's see how this actually works in a real program. So I'm going to start with my imports for the program itself, and then I'm going to press Control-Enter and give an inline command. This command is for the specific function that I'd like the editor to produce. This inline completion is done with the context of my right side assistant. So if I switch that context now to the drawing library, I can give a new command where now the instructions for how I'd like it to code are using a kind of different base instruction set. This will generate pretty different code of a relatively different form. In this case here, I didn't like the completion it gave, so I changed it a bit and asked it to regenerate the output. This looks a bit better, but again, I have lint errors in the actual code itself. So let me kind of tell it more what to do. And finally, I get an output that I like. So this is really the whole process of how we're going to do AI-assisted coding in 2024. We kind of write these meta instructions that describe how we'd like the code to be shaped. And then inside, in inline sense, we give instructions for the specific functions we'd like it to produce. We can go back and forth in this style, changing around between different contexts and producing different outputs. It's really tempting to jump in and write the code yourself, or to give more complex instructions for writing different functions. But I think the right way to do this is just to build up a library of these meta assistant prompts that kind of keep the main structure of how you'd like the code to be. If you can make these better and better, then you don't have to do as much work coding or giving instructions for each individual output. Now, this is easier said than done, and I think like a lot of people, I have a lot of muscle memory that tells me just to code it myself. But I'm really trying hard to get in the process of actually doing this in the correct way and trying to build complex programs. So in the rest of this video, I want to walk through an example where we take a pretty complex example that I've really never seen before, and we try to just use prompting to code it up in practice. Next, let's look at some more of the features of Zed. I have a terminal here, just like you'd have in VS Code. I'm able to open up Windows to see what my current output looks like. You can see that I've been able to create random points in the shape of a T. The next thing I'm going to do is to continue to switch context to generate different functions. This first function will be a function to randomly rotate the points in my dataset. I can go back and change the executable part of the code below in order to apply this randomization and see what the output looks like. We've made 4 or 5 calls to a very smart AI, and it's been able to produce the base structure of our problem. We have 2 random sets of points rotated by a random value. Next up, we're going to write a function that will allow us to match the points together. We're going to do this just by finding the closest distance between the 2 sets of points. When I wrote this at first, the AI gave me actually a very general function. In this case here, I actually go and tell it to give me a less general version, just because it will be simpler. I don't need the full power of the generalized case. As before, the next move I'll make is to switch over from my mathematical context to my drawing context and ask it to produce a function that will represent the lines that match up between each of the points of my original data and the points that I'm trying to target with this transformation. Actually, somewhat embarrassingly, the AI actually used a method for this function that was fully correct, but discovered a bug in my library. If you look at the diagram now, though, you can see that we have lines connecting the red and the blue points. So that's most of the program itself. To actually implement the mathematical function, we have to actually tell it to write this iterative algorithm as described in the tweet. In this case, though, the algorithm is extremely well known, and I only had to give it its Wikipedia page for it to have the information it needed to actually implement it in practice. We combine that with the NumPy instructions to have it produce it in the right type structure that we want to actually use it for our system. The code here is quite long, and it does, again, a kind of more generalized version of the algorithm than I need. I can, again, correct it to tell it to utilize a more specific version. The final code is pretty minimal. It doesn't include comments describing how the algorithm actually works, but it has very good variable names, and the addition of the typing makes it quite clear to see what it's actually producing in its output. We could have gone back and added comments by telling it to document each part, or even connect it to the original code itself. The last step is to actually run this algorithm and then have it produce the animation that we're interested in. In this case here, I asked it just to run the algorithm, and it gave me a bunch of nonsense in addition to the running of the algorithm itself. We can iterate over this a bit and try to get it to produce something that's more where we're trying to target, tell it to keep only certain parts of this, and later on I can get back the information I need. So at this point, we have everything we need that runs the algorithm and animates what we're interested in. The last step is really putting it all together. This is the part I feel like you need more targeted changes onto the individual code itself. Here I'm going through and just making sure it knows how animation works in this library. It knows how to concatenate things together that it's generated. One thing that's fun about Zed is it's very easy to just be running this program, seeing the outputs off screen, and then changing what I'm asking for the program itself. One benefit of having the code in a very structured functional form, as opposed to just an AI blob, is that we can go back and add new features. For instance, here I'm adding the feature where the colors actually change to go from blue to red as they get closer to aligning with the original points. It gets it almost right the first time, but screws up the directionality of the blue and the red. I have to look at a couple examples and make sure it does it in the correct manner. And at this point, we're done. Let's look at the output. So we have code that is able to take an arbitrary set of points, in our case a random t, and align them together. In the process, there are small lines that connect each of the points we're aligning to the reference points, and the color changes gradually over time. This code required about 10 calls to a very smart AI, but at the end of the day, the code that comes out is type-safe, linted, and pretty readable. I think this probably would have taken me about twice or 3 times as long to have written on my own, and honestly, I think the code would have been much worse in practice. So there you have it. That's where we're at with AI coding at the moment. I'm curious to hear what other people are doing with it, or if you have any other questions in the comments. Thanks.